The latest in modern technological advances combines with top medical treatments to improve your health and quality of life. Introducing our Memory Care Clinic, addressing everything from working memory deficits, long-term memory restoration, and even stubborn memory removal. Thank you for taking part in our memory erasure treatment. From oopsies to atrocities, let Casper Core take care of any memory that makes you wince. Welcome to the Memory Care Clinic. My name is Calliope. I'm going to be taking care of you today. Excited to get rid of some memories today. Yes, it is a wonderful process, and dare I say, some find it relaxing even. So I was looking through your charts a little, and I saw that just recently you had a memory scrub treatment. Is that correct? Yeah, so how did that go for you? I see, so that's what our mind exfoliation treatment is for today. So we had a particularly stubborn memory. Stubborn. Well, you are one of the outliers. That doesn't happen very often, but with the mind exfoliation, we are going to be adjusting the treatment for maximum memory erasure. Let me just put that down. We'll have to do a little bit more investigating as to why that memory was not fully targeted. But it really isn't going to be too much of a difference than a regular mind exfoliation. So I see that you had signed most of the papers. However, there is one final waiver. So I'm going to have to give you just a quick little spiel about our disclaimers with the treatment. So there is a very small, minute, negligible, really, chance that some remnants of the memory may remain after the mind exfoliation. You may experience some symptoms such as headaches, nausea, pain in the upper right quadrant of your abdomen, and foot swelling. This also may impair other memories, just depending on how entangled this particular target memory is. If that is fine with you, I'll just have you sign this waiver right here. You could just do that. Don't look too closely at it. You've already looked at the other literature. Yep, just go ahead and sign. Okay? Great. Take a look. And that is a valid legal signature. Wonderful. Now, we are going to take a look at your brain to start. I'll show you a little bit about what we're looking for. Memories are a very complex thing, especially in the brain. There's not so much a physical footprint of memories, so we have to go searching a little bit. Let me show you a little bit about what I mean. So this is a little bit of a rough approximation of your brain. And your brain has some different structures, like the frontal lobe here. We have the temporal lobes on the sides. We have the parietal lobe, more on the top. And at the back, we have the occipital lobe. Now, there are quite a few different structures that are involved in memory. Some of the main structures include the prefrontal cortex, the hippocampus, the amygdala, and the cerebellum. So the cerebellum is not pictured here. This is actually the cerebrum. The cerebellum would be here at the back, underneath the occipital lobe, right here. And the cerebellum works with your nervous system, works with motor control, depth perception, timing, all these different little bits that are mostly about the way you move, coordination, things like that. Now we also have the prefrontal cortex, which is the very front part of the frontal lobe. This is involved in emotions, decision-making, executive function, motor tasks, as well as memory. Now, a little more of what we focus on is the hippocampus and the amygdala. We're not going to be able to see it here on our model because they are deep within the brain. So, for example, the amygdala is between the two hemispheres here. It is right almost about eye line in the center of the brain, and there are actually two structures, just like the hippocampus. So the amygdala looks a little bit like an almond, and that's actually why it's named the amygdala. And it is about the size of a whole peanut. So the amygdala is involved in emotion, memory, communication, but the biggest thing that it's involved in is fear, the emotion of fear. Now your hippocampus, this is also a two main part structure, and this is very important as well for the long-term memory, spatial memory, but we don't focus so much on the hippocampus because we found that when we're working with memories that we are trying to scrub or exfoliate away, that there is a very strong emotional reaction oftentimes with these memories. So with the emotion part, then we more focus on the amygdala in the center of the brain. Your hippocampus is actually right behind the amygdala, and actually the name hippocampus means seahorse because of the shape of it. But we are going to be getting into the middle of the brain, focusing on the amygdala and the entire brain as a whole as well. We're trying to find those pathways that the targeted memory has taken, the roads that it has formed in the brain, so that we can scrub those all away, and then you won't be bothered by that memory anymore. So now that you know a little bit about what we're looking for, I'm going to take a little peek at your brain. So we focus primarily on the amygdala, and I'm all washed up, all scrubbed. Everything is impeccably sterile in this room. You wouldn't believe the amount of sterilization that we go through before we get a patient in a room. So I'm just going to have a little poke around and we'll take a look at your brain. You might feel almost not so much a tickling, but maybe a touch of pressure. I'm just going to use this wooden specimen stick to separate the folds a little bit and poke around. But I'll be very gentle. It's a very gentle sort of poking. Not so much a prod for sure, but a poke. Not even a poke, maybe an indication. A little stronger than an indication, you know what I mean. And I'm gonna get a little cotton bud here. This will help me separate things, and then I can target what we're looking for. We want to make sure there's no lesion in the brain and there's no sign of injury. We want to make sure there's a clear path to these memories, because our target memory is not just one memory, but it's a collection of little memories. It's the initial event, and it's every time you've thought of that memory. We have to get rid of that too. So just let me poke around a little bit, indicate what have you. Now, you weren't contraindicated for the treatment when you came for the memory scrub, so that's a good sign. We're going to just make sure that everything is still healthy. Let's just look around. Got a good prefrontal cortex here. Hippocampus looks good. If I come around in the back, we can take a little look at the cerebellum. We're not really going to have any contact with this, but while we're here, we can take a look. And if we take a little look over here, want to know a little fun fact? Cerebellum means little brain. You have the cerebrum, you have the cerebellum, and you have the brain stem right here. Can you feel me just press a little on the brain stem? Not likely, yeah. Some people do. Some people don't. Don't need to mess with the cerebellum anymore. We're trying to get into the cerebrum a bit. So your amygdala's clear. There's nothing that should be impeding my ability to work with that. Okay, and let me see, I'm just clearing a little path here. And we're going to do just a touch of measuring. I want to make sure that the landmarks that we're looking for, that I'll have calibrated for our machine that that's all correct, that's all within normal limits. So I have a little caliper here, and this looks very, very sharp, but don't worry, I am quite skilled with a caliper. I've only dropped this on one person's brain, and that person had no room to complain as it was a trial on a cadaver, so no harm, no foul, right? But I am going to adjust this. I have a little chart here for the minimum and maximum measurements that I need. I'm just going to compare them with some of the structures here, so I'm just going to line that up. So definitely not too small there. And let's open that up. So this is going to be the maximum right here. That certainly falls in between there. And then we just open that a little bit. Good. Then I think might just need to part this a little. Then right in here. Good. Okay. Funnily enough, if you want another fun fact, the brain is primarily made of fat, which in some ways makes my job a little easier. In some ways, makes my job a little harder, especially when I'm trying to get a clear way into the brain, clear way to measure. Okay, so there's one more area that I want to double check on, and then we can get our machine set up. That should be enough there, and then match it up. So I need to go a little bit wider right there, and then we're going to come in here. Let me know if this is painful at all. Really shouldn't be. There's not a lot of pain receptors here. Feels a little useless, really. In the natural world, there's not really a reason why you would need to feel pain on the brain. But we've certainly moved quite past that, haven't we? Quite past the bounds of the natural world. And then I'm going to use this. This is going to be a little more delicate. Just have to pull this apart a little. Let's see if I can get that in there. I think that'll do. I'm having a hard time trying to get it measured because this is not fitting in there. It's too tight of an area. It's probably a good sign that it's not too big. Documentation. It's very important. If anything happens, then we have a complete record of everything that went on in the treatment. A cover your ass measure, if you will. Good. Now let's get everything into position. So this is where you might feel a little bit of pressure, but we have everything up top here, and we just lower this down to the brain. Okay. Does that feel like it's fitting correctly? Okay. Can you move your head up a little bit? Do you feel overly restricted? Okay, but it feels firm. It's firmly on there. Okay, that's what we want. We just want to keep you in place, because even just like a 30th of a millimeter off and things can get real weird real fast. So we want to keep you still. I do exaggerate when I say 1/30th of a millimeter. It's not quite that much. The margin of error is like a 1/10 of a millimeter though. So not nearly as bad as a 30th, but still want to be careful. And now we're going to do a little bit of memory targeting. I want you to recall that memory that we wish to remove. And when we do that, I'm going to be able to see the pathways which it took. So there might be a little bit still in the amygdala, and then we will be able to see where it went through the brain so that it's so stuck in there. So it'll kind of give me almost like a little light up trail. So if you could think of that memory. Okay, it's lighting up a little bit. Just recall as much as you can, whether it's the smells that you recall, the taste in your mouth, what you heard around you, anything that was touching your skin. If it gets to be too much, do let me know. We can do this with less information. It's just not going to be as bright on the pathways, but the computer can detect that just fine. So, you got that pretty vivid? Yeah, you do. There you go. Good. So we're going to lock that memory in. I'm going to have you follow a series of instructions for me. While you are following my instructions, I want you to be thinking of that memory, okay? So I'm going to have you focus on this finger right here. Can you do that for me? Just keep that memory in your head as best as you can. And I'm going to want you to follow this finger, right? Using only your eyes, without moving your head. We're going to go in almost a box formation. Just do the best you can. Follow my finger. We're going to do this box formation. I'm going to take care of you. If anything feels off, let me know. If anything goes awry, let me know. There are procedures for everything, and we can get it all figured out. Get it all taken care of. Good. Now I'm going to have you look in the direction that I tell you to. So for example, I might have you look right up here. Good. Good. And what if I have you look right up here? Good. What about right here? What about right here? Excellent. So just like that, okay? I'm gonna have you look right up here. Yep. Right down here. Right here. Right here. Here. Good. Here. Mm-hmm. Here. Yep. Here. Good. Okay. Mm-hmm. Good. Good. Mm-hmm. Very good. Okay, and now I am going to have you look in one corner of the other, or the other rather, but I'm going to verbalize it. I'm not going to have the visual cue. So, you can look in the upper right corner. Good. How about the lower right? Lower left. Good. Upper right. Lower right. Upper right. Lower left. Lower right. Upper left. Lower left. Upper left. Upper right. Lower right. Upper left. Upper left. Lower left. Lower right. Upper right. Good. I think we are locked and loaded, I think. So let me just double check on our procedure. Alright. That is everything. So I am going to press a button. It's going to get a little dimmer in here. We're just diverting some of the power to the machine. And I am going to have you relax as best you can. Right? So let me grab. And I am going to count down from 5 to 1. When we hit 1, we're going to start up the machine. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And enjoy the brain exfoliation. I'm just going to be here to supervise. And let me know if there's anything that feels off. I know you've already gone through the memory scrub. Just let me know. Good. From time to time, I'll just be checking in, taking a look at what's going on, making sure we're hitting the right areas. Everything is calibrated with an absolute scrutiny. However, it never hurts to have multiple checks on a system. when I can just observe what's going on. Are you feeling any physical symptoms at all? Just let me know if you do. The most common symptom is a little bit of soreness. I want to make sure there's not any numbness, tingling, loss of motor movement, loss of motor control, things of that nature. No, that hasn't really happened too much. If it did, we had to put it in the disclaimer. But it's something important to keep an eye out for anyway. Time to time, I might check in on your memory. Just to make sure that's You're doing really, really well, by the way. I think this is going to be a very successful treatment for you. We'll give it about another minute, and then I'm going to check in on the status of that memory. It doesn't take too long for us to exfoliate the memory, but we do just need to check in, make sure there aren't any remnants. Don't want another little incident, I suppose, to happen like you had already had. Some people just apparently cannot do their jobs alone. But I'm with you, and I'm going to be staying for the duration of the treatment. Alright, so let's check in on my memory. So tell me a little bit about the quality of the memory. You don't have to tell me anything about the actual memory. Just tell me if it still feels vivid. Can you still remember all of it? Just going to be looking a little bit. Okay, so can you see everything just as much as it was before? Okay, and what about the sound you hear? Is that all still just as vivid? What about the smells? Do you remember anything about the smells? Tastes? And what about sensations? Any pressure, any touch, heat, cold, vibration? Now the pathways are getting dimmer, which is what we want. We are exfoliating those pathways so that you don't recall anymore. So we're doing okay so far. Just let that keep going for a little bit. I'll check in another couple of minutes, I think. Sometimes this can take as little as 10 minutes. For particularly stubborn memories, we might see up to 30, but you already did have a memory scrub, and that's going to get rid of a lot of the etchings. Think of it almost as if you have a whiteboard full of scribbles. Some of it is in the temporary marker, in the dry erase marker. Some of it's in permanent marker. The memory scrub, we've gotten rid of all the dry erase marker. It's as if we took one of those special fluffy little erasers and just went over the entire whiteboard with our little eraser. And what's left is just some of those permanent marker etchings. So this is going to physically get rid of those. Just a minute. So afterwards, after the treatment, we'll do just a little bit of poking around to make sure there's nothing else that lights up in the brain. We'll do a little bit of the eye movement like we did, and that's because that memory locks into those different movements, and if you can't recall them while we're doing those different movements, there's a good chance that it is pretty much all gone. So, okay, let's take a little peek. Alright, tell me how you're feeling about the memory. If you think about it, what is coming up for you? Is there any particular sensation that is more strong than another? Okay, so we're getting stuck on the hearing portion. Visuals getting fuzzy. About smells? No. What about feelings and sensation? Okay, not as bad. What about taste? No taste. Okay, good. So think about that memory. I'm going to look at the pathways. Okay. Yeah, they're getting really, really dim. So I think we'll do one more pass. Where are we at? Yeah, I think we'll do one more pass. Just gonna keep a little look on that. If I look for long enough, I can actually the brightness of it dim. It's like a neon color. And just very gently, very softly does it dim, little by little by little by little. To be how a lot of it goes is that we lose the taste and the smell pretty quickly. Visual can get pretty blurry, but the sensation and the hearing tends to be a dead ringer for the memory. We may not remember what it looked like, but we do remember what it felt like, what it sounded like. Just another minute. And then we should be about good to go. I feel like I'm gonna have to file a report later. Preemptive report. Yeah, I can go to HR. Let's take a peek. So, think about that memory. And the memory that you came to the memory care clinic about. Do you remember what it looked like at all? Okay, do you remember what it sounded like? And any taste or smell associated with it? Okay, and do you remember any feeling on your body? Okay, I've got no light here. So we are going to shut this down. And then I'm going to flip the power on so it turns off, and then okay, and we have light again. So let's do a little bit of investigating. Just making sure that everything is as we found it. I want to leave it in better condition than when we had found it. Just like when you're going camping or on a trail. Okay, that looks good. So I am going to have you look at my finger right here, okay? And I am just going to have you follow this using only your eyes, without moving your head. Right. Just going to go in a little bit of a box formation. Let me know if anything comes up for you. If there's anything strange that you think of while this is going on. Anything out of the ordinary? Any weird sensations? Anything sound off? Okay, and then I am just going to have you look in the area that you see my finger in, right? Let me know again if there's anything off. Good. Yep. Good. Yep. Good. Yep. Good. Good. Yep. Okay, and now I'm going to have you look in a specific direction, and I'm not going to be indicating it with any visual cues. You just let me know if anything strange occurs, right? Okay. If you could look in the upper left corner. And what about the lower right? Upper right? Lower left? Lower left? Lower right? Upper right? And upper left? Lower left? Upper left? Lower right? Lower left? Upper right? Upper left? Lower left? Upper right? Lower left? Upper left? Lower right? Okay. Was there anything at all that was a little odd about that exercise? Just doing the exercise itself was a little odd. Okay. That is absolutely valid. So I think you are all clear. So we did a little procedure with you, and we had a complete success with it. So if you have any sort of symptoms out of the ordinary, images you don't recognize, smells you don't recognize, sensations, what have you, do let us know. If you experience headaches, nausea, pain in the upper right quadrant of your abdomen, or foot swelling, do let us know, right? So let me just jot down the notes. Very good. I would like to thank you so much for choosing Casper Core for your memory care treatment today. I hope you have